About 1 in 4 of the top AI papers published last year got flagged for at least one citation that couldn't be traced to anything real. A source no one could locate, one that slipped past peer review and into the permanent record of science.
Hold on, 1 in 4? At the best conferences in the field? How does a fake source even get in?
Before I answer, guess this and hold it. The papers carrying flagged citations. Did the reviewers give them worse scores than the clean ones? Pick yes or no right now, and keep one picture in your head. A citation that looks completely ordinary. Plausible title, plausible authors, plausible venue. Remember it.
But a citation is the one thing you can actually check. It's either a real paper by those authors or it isn't. And 3 to 5 experts read every one of these before it's published.
That's what everyone assumes. So picture a factory with a defect rate of 0.5%. Sounds like quality control is working perfectly. Until you remember the factory ships 100,000 units, and suddenly there are 500 broken ones out in the world. Every week there's a headline about AI writing essays, legal briefs, and even science. This is a study of what happens when the machine's mistakes slip through every check and land in the record we all trust. Coming up, a scan that audits a whole conference for about 4 cents a paper, a citation that looks flawless and leads nowhere, and one number the reviewers never looked at.
So what did they actually do?
They built a tool that reads every source in a paper's reference list and checks each one against 6 giant catalogs of published work. If a reference can't be found, and only then, it hands that one to an AI that searches the open web for the real source page. They ran it over about 48,000 accepted papers and more than 2.5 million references.
So it's fact-checking the footnotes. What came back?
This is the part that stopped me. Per reference, flagged fakes are rare, well under 1% almost everywhere. That's the number that lets you shrug it off. But a conference isn't one reference list. It's hundreds of thousands of them stacked together. Run that tiny rate across all of them, and it lands in about 1 in 4 papers. Same data. 0.5% and 1 in 4. Both true.
So the whole thing is that arithmetic. A tiny rate times a giant pile.
That's the factory, exactly. And where do the fakes come from? The rate climbs after ChatGPT went public. The authors are careful not to call it proof, but it fits a world where people now let AI tools draft and clean up their reference lists. A model can spin a perfect-looking citation out of a fuzzy memory in seconds.
But I keep snagging on this. A fake source should be the easiest thing to catch. Why doesn't review stop it?
Because reviewers are judging the ideas, not dialing every phone number in the back. Checking references was never really the job. So this failure is sitting in the published record, and it's invisible to the process that decides what gets published. And the researchers had one test left that turns, maybe it's just noise, into something you can't wave away. Keep it in your back pocket.
You said one test left. What is it?
They took one conference and split it in 2. The papers reviewers accepted, and the papers reviewers rejected. The accepted ones scored much higher, clearly better work in the reviewers' eyes. So if reviewers catch fake citations, the good papers should be the clean ones. They weren't. Accepted and rejected papers had flagged citations at almost exactly the same rate, about 16 versus 17%. A giant gap in quality and basically no gap in flagged references. Whatever review is measuring, this isn't part of it.
Wait, my guess. Did the flag papers get worse reviews?
Here's your answer. No. If anything, they scored a hair higher than the clean papers. The reviewers couldn't tell because they weren't looking. And that ordinary-looking citation I asked you to hold, that's exactly what a flag looks like. All 6 catalogs checked, the web searched, and nothing comes back. Built to look real, pointing to nothing.
Okay, one honest thing. A flag isn't proof. When they checked by hand, plenty of flags were just the tool misreading a mangled PDF. It even flagged one of the most cited papers in the whole field. So it's less a lie detector, more a smoke detector. It tells you which room to check, not that there's a fire.
Fair, which is why they say a human has to look before anyone gets blamed. But the hopeful part is how cheap it is. 4 cents a paper. A conference can run this on every submission for the price of a coffee and catch the fakes before they're permanent.
So here's yours. If you learned a published study leaned on a citation that pointed to nothing real, would you toss the whole paper or trust the rest of it anyway? Drop where you land in the comments.
And if you like research pulled apart in plain English, subscribe and join a growing crowd who'd rather understand this stuff than take a headline's word for it.
Turns out the footnotes were the one place nobody was watching.